Coaching, that's right. If you want to lead your people in the right direction and you want to get the results that you want in your company and in your business, you have to make sure that you coach them. If you're coaching people but not getting the results, you're not coaching. All you're doing is talking. Real coaching is structured and it's about outcomes, accountability, and constant improvement. So today, I'm breaking down how to use outcomes, measure them, and then coach to success so that you could build a high-performance team that runs without you. Let's get into it right now. In 3, in 2, in 1. Step number 1. Well, before I get into step number 1, I have to remind you, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share this. We've got so many shows. One on Monday, I have a guest. On Wednesday, I'm here doing the solo show, teaching you something new that either I've experienced, have been successful with, or I've just learned in a book. And then on Sunday, I go live. So make sure you subscribe to the show. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. I think you're going to take your game to the next level if you just listen to a little bit of what I'm trying to say. So let's get into it right now, guys. Let's talk about coaching. What is coaching? So for me, I have been a coach for, quite frankly, a very long time. I was a professional tennis coach for 15 years, taught kids from the age of 4 years old to 94 years old. And it was really, really rewarding to be able to watch and be a mentor to kids who are trying to develop. But what's most important when you're coaching is you want to be able to take a complex subject and be able to simplify it in a way so that the other person can understand. And the way you do that when you're talking to your team in entrepreneurship is actually you have to be careful with getting in the weaves. You have to be careful with getting into the details. If you want to make sure that your team has their own freedom and has their own ability to roam and grow and really do what they need to do, you can't get into the step-by-step process too much. Now, that takes it to what I used to say, and what I always say is make sure that you have checklists and processes so things are done right. However, what happens with entrepreneurs, and I know this from experience and from my own faults, is it gets a little bit messy. And then what happens is you get too involved. So what you have to do is step number 1, you have to start with the outcome. Before you coach anyone in your company, you have to make sure that you have a crystal clear vision on what it's supposed to look like. What does success actually look like? What does this particular process or project look like when it's all said and done? Try to be specific, but more importantly, paint the picture. I'll just give you an example. Here's the goal, guys, all right? Here's how we'll know we hit it, and here's what it looks like. So people can identify, okay, so here's what it's gonna look like at the end. Here's what we need to accomplish in order to get it, and we'll know that when it's completely done. Not only do we have to hit certain things, but we also have to make it look like this. And then you allow them the freedom to get there however they have to get there. People can't hit a target that they can't see. And if they don't know what done looks like, then guess what? That's on you. So the best thing that I ever learned when leading a team, and again, I know this from my mistakes of just giving them all the details, answering all the questions throughout the project. They're always leaning on you. It's like, no. All right, guys, here's a project. Here's what we have to accomplish. Here's what I want it to look like when it's all said and done. Go. Here are some of the measurables that we need to get to on our way there. Go. Try to focus on the outcome. What do you want it to look like when all is said and done? And allow your team to grow within themselves and figure out ways to get to the outcome that you want. You don't want to get in the weeds. You don't want to get into all the details. You just want to make sure it gets done the way you want it. So show them what it looks like. Paint the picture and allow them to roam. The next thing you want to do is measure. Measure everything that matters. You cannot improve things that you don't actually track. Now, most of my audience is still public adjusters. If you're running a public adjusting firm and you want to sign more claims, well, you're going to have to keep track of how many claims you sign per day, how many claims you sign per week, per month, per quarter, per year, and so on. More importantly, a big issue is making sure that you're closing these claims. A lot of claims, they last a long time. So you're gonna wanna keep track of your close rate. How many claims are you closing per month? How long is the life of a claim on average of your entire business? And what is it taking for you to get there? What if you wanna close that gap? You're gonna have to measure it to make sure that you are actually getting better, which will ultimately lead to more closed claims. So you wanna make sure that you're building in KPIs. Key performance indicators. You want to have daily ones, you want to have weekly ones, you want to have monthly ones. One of the great things about the EOS system, Entrepreneurial Operating System, you want to read the book Traction. Gino Wickman gives you the framework on how to set up your 10-year goals, your 3-year picture, your 1-year goals, and then your quarterly rocks. And then from your quarterly rocks, you keep a weekly scorecard. So if one of your quarterly rocks is to close more claims, then in your weekly scorecard, you're going to make sure that you're keeping track of how many claims you're closing per day and how many claims you're closing per week. But I would take it a next level is you're going to also want to probably drop the length of time that it takes for you to actually close a claim. Once you figure out that number, now you could actually go work backwards to try to figure out, okay, where's the bottleneck? What is it that we're not doing right so that we can close claims faster? So close rates, claims signed, contracts out, calls made, whatever it is that's just driving the result, make sure you keep track of all that stuff. And just understand, it's not about micromanaging. It's just about being able to give clear feedback. And as the entrepreneur, it's much easier that if they're trying to figure things out to close the gap, if they're trying to figure out to close more claims, for example, all you have to do as the CEO, as the entrepreneur, as the leader in the organization is go and take a look at the metrics. If the metrics aren't getting better, then something needs to change. Then you could ask the follow-up question is, okay, what is it that we're doing wrong? What can we do better? How can we improve things? That's your job as a leader, guys, not to be in the weaves and all of the inner workings of everything. It's just look at the results, look at the measurables. Are we getting closer to the picture that I painted for you and what we want to get to? And how are we going to get there? Let's go backwards and figure it out. Tracking is how you remove emotion from the conversation and allows you to coach based on facts, not just feeling. Don't run on emotion. Run on facts. It's the only way you're going to get your business and all of the people around you to the next level. All right, let's simplify this here, guys. So when you're coaching, you want to coach with intention, okay? You want to lead with intention, all right? You don't want to just coach randomly. You want it to be based on the outcome and the data that you've now already defined and that you've now put together. Coaching becomes very simple this way. You just want to ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1 is, what's the outcome? We want to be able to define the outcome. Number 2 is, where are we now? And according to what the outcome that we want to get to. And then what needs to change? If you ask the right questions, you hold the line. You support their growth because now you're allowing them to figure out what the problems are. If you continue to be the bottleneck of your growth, and what I mean by that is if people continue to come to you to ask questions about how to solve this, and that, then you're not growing them. They're not growing. What ends up happening is you end up having all the monkeys on your back, all right? They're basically taking their issues, their problems, whatever it is that they're trying to figure out, they're putting all the monkeys on you, and it just overloads you to a whole other level. Again, take it from experience. I have been there. That is not where you want to be. You want to make sure that you're helping them figure out. One thing that I do, okay, you guys might find this actually pretty funny, is when somebody comes to me with a question, and even if I know the answer, I just look at them and I say, I don't know, what do you think? Now, there's other things that we can do also. So shout out to my coach, Dan Martell. He gives people what's called the 1-3-1 rule. The 1-3-1 rule is, I'll even just look at my phone just to make sure I get it right. Number 1 is define the problem. Okay, so you're coming to me with a problem. Let's define the problem. What is the problem that needs to be solved? The next thing is 3. Give me 3 viable solutions to that problem. And then the next thing is to go to 1 again. Make 1 suggestion from that list of possible solutions. But you don't do that. This 1-3-1 rule is not for the entrepreneur. It's not for the business owner. This is for the person that's coming to you with the problem. If you could instill this, my team already knows this. If you could instill this 1-3-1 rule, where basically number 1, what is the problem? Okay, now give me 3 solutions for that problem. Think outside the box. I'll wait. Now of those 3, which is the best possible solution? 9.9 times out of 10, they're able to figure out the solution themselves. If you instill this from the beginning, guys, then they won't come to you with every single problem. And on the other end of that, don't think that you're just trying to take a break and you're not being a good leader because you're not telling them how to do things. Ultimately, it's not your job to do that. Your job is to continue the growth and the scaling of the company while they're able to now grow within themselves and figure out solutions. Once you become very good at figuring out solutions, then they could become leaders as well. And once they do that, that's how you ultimately scale the business. So just understand, coaching, leading, it's not about fixing. It's about helping them, the employees, all those around you, think through the gap. Think through the gap between where they are and where they need to be. So make sure that you're actually allowing them to do that. 1-3-1 rule is one of the best things that you can do. And that's it, basically, guys. So let's kind of bring this full circle here. The most important thing I want you to learn is that when you lead, and when you coach, make sure you coach with outcomes. Make sure that you actually send and have a crystal clear picture. The next thing you want to do is measure, all right? So focus on the outcome, measure, and then coach them on that one thing. But don't get in the weaves. Give them that 1-3-1 rule. Allow them to figure out the solution that they need to get a fix to that particular problem. It's the cycle that builds consistency. It's the cycle that builds top performers. People crave feedback. They want to win. Your system gives them the playbook to actually do it. And as your team levels up, so does your time, so does your impact, and most importantly, so does your bottom line. So when you coach this way, think about the outcome, measure the results that you want, and then coaching them with that 1-3-1 rule. When you coach this way, you stop being the fireman, you stop being the bottleneck, you stop being the one with all the monkeys on your back, and you start actually being the architect. You start actually being the leader that you're supposed to be, and you'll actually free up your time to focus on the things that light you up, but ultimately benefit the company as a whole and everyone around you as a whole, and you have more time to focus on those things. So that's what we got here. That's how you lead. That's how you coach. That's how you want to get your point across. I love the word coach. It's just something that I've been doing for so long. And coaching, there is a way to do it. And number one is you have to make sure that you're able to paint a picture of what you're looking for. You also have to be able to communicate complex subjects and make them simple. This is just a simple framework on doing it. I believe that in business, it's very important, but even if I'm teaching a 7-year-old on how to hit a forehand in tennis, I want to show him first, how does it look, right? This is what it looks like. This is what you want it to look like. Show him by holding him, right? Hold a hand, have him do the follow through, have him understand this is the outcome that we want. Then measure it. In tennis, with a forehand, is you start feeding balls. How many are you getting in? All right, the goal is we want to get 10 in. Once you got 10 in, now we're moving up to the next level and we're going in the right place. All right? And then coach them. Coach them on what do you think is going wrong? What do you think? I could coach them and I can get in the weaves, even as a tennis coach, of all the little technical details. But all we want is a result. You could even ask a 7-year-old, what do you think you're doing wrong? And when I implemented that with the 7-year-old, because that is a true story, you'll be surprised when he tells me, well, you know what? I'm actually not finishing the swing. I'm actually not taking the racket down the way I'm supposed to. By allowing and empowering that person to figure it out themselves, the process of them learning becomes much, much faster. So that's what we got, guys. Make sure that you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. We've got so much content coming out to you right now. Again, quick shout out to my guys here, especially Travis right there in front of me, of Transcend Studio here in Tampa. We're going next level. So we have a show every Monday where we have a guest here in the studio or virtual. Every Wednesday, I'm going to be coming at you and teaching you more things. And then every Sunday, I go live. There's a lot of content coming out. Follow me on social media as well and share it. Share it as much as you can. I'm trying to do whatever I can to be as impactful as possible. And I'm hoping that I'm doing that. And I'm going to do everything that I can to do that. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And that's what we got for this week. We'll see you next week. Peace out.